Jean Silva will overpower Arnold Allen.
Jean Lord Silva!
Jean Silva looks like a guy that could potentially be a world title challenger, if not champion at some point.
He did everything. If you're someone that's learning how to fight, if you're someone that's in a kickboxing gym, relaxation and having fun is the number one thing.
Man, Jean Silva is a champion in the making.
Silva vs. Allen are set for the main card of UFC 324, and although a lot of the Silva hype has died down after his loss against Diego Lopez, I'm here to tell you that Silva will not only win here, but he'll find the finish as well. But before we get the video started, my name is JuicyMMA. I make opinionated fight breakdowns. If you're ready, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it. For the most part, when you talk about the last year or so of the featherweight division, I wouldn't consider it to be one of the UFC's best weight classes. But as of late, over the past couple months, it's quietly getting better and better, as the weight class has some pretty good top-end fighters like an Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, Lerone Murphy, Movsar Evloev, etc. But also, the weight class has a lot of additional up-and-comers, like a Jean Silva, like an Arnold Allen, like a Youssef Zalal, etc. So when the UFC originally made this fight announcement between Jean Silva and Arnold Allen, I was definitely very happy about it, as unfortunately at this point in a lot of different weight classes, a lot of these contenders aren't being all that active, and we very rarely see younger guys, younger contenders, or even legitimate contenders go up against each other in a lot of different weight classes. Like for example, the lightweight division was stagnant for so long until eventually we had an interim title fight get made between Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje. But at least for the featherweight division, a lot of these contenders are fighting each other, and of course for the specific fight, it's a very high level fight against two legitimate contenders at the featherweight division. But before we get into the specific fight breakdown between Jean Silva and Arnold Allen, let's take a closer look at Jean Silva and see what he does well out there. Well, in my opinion, what makes Silva so successful comes down to two factors. For one, his striking acumen. When you watch Silva out there, it's very clear this guy has a lot of stuff. He can fight you at range and utilize some of his longer strikes like front kicks up the middle, leg kicks, head kicks, body kicks, jabs, right hands, stance switches, or if he wants, he can get in close and fight in that close boxing range and utilize uppercuts, hooks, crosses, elbows. There's so many different things that Jean Silva can throw at you, and there's so many different ways that Jean Silva can fight effectively on the feet. And in my opinion, when you have a fighter like that, he's extremely difficult to fight, because for one, regardless of where the fight goes, he's going to have an advantage and he's going to have an ability to fight effectively at that range. But for two, when you talk about a guy like Silva that has so many different things that he can throw at you, it just makes it very difficult as a fighter to decipher what's coming your way. And of course, when you're talking about Jean Silva, the stakes are significantly higher compared to other guys, as if Jean's able to land cleanly on you, he's most likely going to be able to find a finish. And that leads me right into my second factor for why I think Silva's successful, and that comes down to his physicality. Because not only does Jean have really good technical striking acumen and striking ability, but on top of that, if he is able to land cleanly on you, he's most likely going to be able to find finishes. And I think we've seen that time in and time again. The only time where he was able to land cleanly but wasn't able to find a finish was against Diego Lopez, but of course Diego Lopez probably has the best chin at the weight class, and there's a very good argument to be made that he has one of the best chins in the entire UFC. But in most of other potential matchups for Jean Silva, I do believe if he lands cleanly, he will be able to find finishes. But another question that some of you may be wondering at this point is why specifically do I think Jean Silva is going to overpower Arnold Allen? Well, in my opinion, this comes down to a couple different factors, but the first factor I want to touch upon is the physicality. Because when you talk about this fight itself, I think it will be very competitive. When you talk about Arnold Allen, I think it's pretty clear he's one of the better fighters at the featherweight division. He has great striking acumen, he even has an ability to grapple a little bit as well, and I do think this fight is going to be competitive for the majority of it. But I think it's going to be competitive until it's not. I think eventually there's going to be a point where Jean Silva lands a big shot. Whether it's an overhand right, a left hook, an uppercut, a front kick up the middle, a head kick, whatever it is, there's eventually going to be some sort of big shot that Jean Silva lands that completely changes the entirety of the fight. Whether he finds a finish in that moment or whether he finds a finish not too long after that, I think there's going to be that huge moment for Jean Silva. And that's a real difference in this fight. In terms of skill, I think it's relatively close. I do think Jean Silva clearly can hang with Arnold Allen. I do think Arnold Allen clearly can hang with Jean Silva in terms of their individual skill set on the feet, but at the same time, I think the big differentiating factor here is that physicality. It only takes one big shot from Jean Silva to find the finish, but for Arnold Allen, it probably would would take a lot of shots for him to potentially find a finish or potentially control the fight over Jean Silva. And I don't think this is how the fight is going to play out, but theoretically, Jean Silva can be losing the entirety of the fight, land one big shot, and find the finish. That's a huge reason for why I say physicality is so important. But as I said, I don't think it's going to go that way. I think it's going to be very competitive until it's not. But overall, yes, I do think physicality is a humongous factor in this particular fight. But the next factor for why I think Jean Silva is going to overpower Arnold Allen comes down to his athleticism. As going into this fight, a lot of fans see grappling as the best path to victory for Arnold Allen. But in my opinion, I think there's a couple of issues with this. For one, if Allen is going to effectively grapple here, he's going to need to pressure a very dangerous Jean Silva, which is a lot easier said than done. But for two, even if he is able to effectively pressure Silva, it's going to be really difficult to actually get in on the hips and actually control Silva on the ground, in part due to Silva's athleticism. We've seen it multiple times where some fighters have gotten deep on multiple takedown attempts against Jean Silva, but they weren't able to be successful on it, in part due to the crazy athleticism that Silva has. And that athleticism even extends to the ground as well, as even when certain fighters have been successful in taking Silva down, he's a very difficult guy to control, and he's able to explode back to his feet in a lot of different occasions. Even in his most recent performance against Diego Lopez, a guy who's clearly a better grappler than Silva and a guy who had him in a really bad spot in that first round in full mount, Jean was still able to get out of that situation, in part due to his athleticism. I know he was controlled a little bit, I know he did take a lot of damage in that situation, but for the most part, most guys would not be able to get out of that situation against Diego Lopez, but Jean Silva was able to, in part due to his crazy athleticism. But the third big issue for why I don't think Arnold Allen is going to be able to effectively grapple Jean Silva is due to Arnold Allen's wrestling itself, as although he does have pretty good grappling, he definitely has the ability to wrestle a little bit in certain fights. I don't think he's an elite grappler. And when you're going up against a guy like Jean Silva and grappling is going to be a huge part of your game plan, I think you need to be a very high level grappler. As I could see a very realistic case scenario here where maybe early Arnold Allen pressures effectively, shoots in on a takedown, tries really hard to find that takedown and doesn't get it. And because of that, he gets really tired. Or maybe he does get it, but he worked really hard for the takedown and then Jean Silva gets right back to his feet a second later. That's very demoralizing, and also most importantly, that's very tiring for a guy like Arnold Allen. So I don't really believe that Arnold Allen is going to be able to effectively grapple Jean Silva here. But another question that some of you may be wondering at this point is, what is my official prediction for this matchup? Well, in my opinion, my official prediction for this matchup is Jean Silva via second round TKO or KO victory. As I said before, I think early on this fight is going to be very competitive. Arnold Allen definitely is a very high level and high skilled featherweight fighter, and I do think that is going to show early on, as the fight will be competitive. But eventually there's going to be that moment where Jean lands that big shot, and in my opinion, I think that big moment is going to happen in that second round. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening in this particular fight. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, be sure to hit that join button for members only videos, live streams, best bets, discounted merch, alongside with additional perks as well. I wanted to thank all my current channel members. You guys do an amazing job at supporting the channel and keeping these videos coming, and once again, I just wanted to say thank you. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Jean Silva can overpower Arnold Allen, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.